Now, we are at the Web Accessibility Initiative ARIA website, which is housed with the W3 Consortium, Worldwide Web Consortium. And we've already kind of skipped over the part where they're talking about the purpose of ARIA, which is basically to augment and enhance the existing structural and context helpers that are present in the plain old HTML markup. All that stuff was done way before the proliferation of advanced web technologies and stuff like JavaScript and HTML5 and all this business. There's a lot more stuff to interact with on these pages, and for a screen reader user to kind of get the gist of how this new stuff is laid out, they need some kind of guideposts, some kind of explanation, some kind of labels, some kind of definitions, so they can understand these things. And I'll go over some of these elements. They're over there in the left-hand panel of this page, and I'll just kind of run down the list in a second. But before that, I just kind of want to point out that, nah, forget it. It'll come to me. All right, so some of the elements that the web consortium has kind of seen fit to do use cases for are stuff like accordions, alert dialogues, breadcrumbs, and there's a thing in the other video about this breadcrumb thing that's pretty funny. Button. The button is a contentious issue, and if you're around people who do accessibility and or people who do a lot of web development who are trying to be accessible, or maybe not trying to be accessible, the button thing will get you a 2 hour long talk, because sometimes web developers will take a regular old link and an href link, hyperlink, and they will apply CSS styling to it to make it look like a button. And that's all well and good. However, in HTML, there is already a thing called a button that has behaviors associated with it. And so when someone with a screen reader approaches a button, they know that it behaves in a certain way, and when they approach a hyperlink, they know that it behaves in a slightly different way. Now, what's been happening with ARIA is that people have been styling these hyperlinks as buttons and then assigning them the label or the role of a button. And when someone who is using a screen reader runs into one of these things, they think it's a button, but it's actually a hyperlink, so it causes some confusion because it doesn't act exactly like they expect it to. So the button is a controversial issue for ARIA. The carousel, checkbox, combo box. Now, the checkbox and the combo box, those both have built-in HTML properties. And you can call things that are checkboxes and combo boxes. Uh, you can call things that are not checkbox combo boxes. You can call them checkboxes and combo boxes. Kind of the same situation as with the buttons. Um, so basically, this whole list are like some like more modern types of interactive elements, and they just kind of give some tips and some use cases for how to use ARIA with these guys. So this is the authoring practices. So if you kind of want to dive into how they're using ARIA for interactive elements and also for structural stuff. We've got these landmark roles where these divs or these segments or sectors of the page can be tagged with these different ARIA roles and things that describe the functionality. Like ARIA is not really like the interactive element itself. It's actually more of a thing that describes the interactive element and kind of gives it a label or something to call it, just some context. So I think that's about it for this video. I didn't want to go too far into it because most people who will be taking this Drupal class, if they look at this thing later on, they're not really going to be diving heavily into doing JavaScript. And the good thing is that if you're using 7 or Bartik or something like that, it's got little bits and pieces of this ARIA already kind of rolled into it. And so that's it for this video, and that's it for ARIA. I probably will just be glossing it over if we see it again in the future because it's sort of beyond the scope of what we're doing. Okay, thank you.